Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir El Azouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today as the time we are recording, we are the 31st of January and it is Brexit. But we will talk specifically about another one that maybe has the same situation, which is Switzerland. And we will call it Swixit or not Swixit. And for that, I have with me Ronald Boumans, Senior Consultant Regulatory Affairs at Emergo by UL. It will help us to understand what is the current situation with Switzerland, and specifically for the medical device industry, because we heard a lot of things, and Ronald will be, I think, a good help. He has made an article that was really interesting, and it's why I wanted to share his knowledge with you. So, Ronald, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem.
Welcome, everybody.
So, Ronald, just for the introduction of people, can you just make an introduction of yourself and just explain who you are, what you are doing at Emergo by UL, and then we can start with the Swixit or not Swixit.
Yes, thank you. Well, I have a career in medical devices and legislation about it. I have worked as an inspector for medical devices at the Dutch Healthcare Inspectorate, so I have some experience on the market surveillance side, and now I'm working as a consultant for Emergo, where I help manufacturers to be compliant and then that's great fun to do. I really like that. Emergo is an organization that helps global manufacturers, reach global markets by helping them to meet the requirements for those markets. So we can help manufacturers go all over the world with the devices, and within Europe, the head office of Emergo is in The Hague. That's where I'm based, and I'm the MDR specialist within Emergo.
So great. So I think, we have a lot of discussion about MDR currently, and there is a lot of stress because of MDR. But now apparently there will be a bit more stress in Switzerland. So can you just explain to us what is the current context with the Swiss market or Switzerland, between Switzerland and European Union?
Yeah, well, Switzerland is not a member of the European Union, but it is bound with the European Union with treaties and mutual recognition agreements. So there is a overarching treaty that sets out all these mutual recognition agreements. So the current directives are bound by a specific agreement, MRA, and that needs to be replaced with a new MRA for the MDR. However, there's a new treaty now that is covering this new mutual recognition agreement, but a treaty is not signed yet. The problem there has been a referendum in Switzerland regarding the broad lines in this treaty, and that failed because of the issue of immigration.
I remember it was a vote where in Switzerland they were asking, do you want to have some quota or something like that with the people coming to Switzerland, and they said yes, apparently. So then it was more like not in agreement with, I think, the free movement of people in Switzerland or this kind of thing. So this was, I think, the discussion that they had since many years now. And now, as there is this MDR situation, there is maybe some blockage or some problems.
Yeah. So until this new treaty is signed, it's not possible to sign new MRAs.
Okay.
And regarding shares, apparently there was last summer something that had to be signed. It's not done, so it's difficult to have stock shares exchange between between these stock things. What is it?
Okay.
It's not my field of expertise, obviously. But
Yeah.
so that was not signed, and now it's the next one that's not being signed is the MDR, and that's an issue. That's a challenge.
So the MDR is not signed, but the MDD was already on the current agreement. So everything that was done before is on the agreement, but the MDR was not on the agreement. So it's why we have this situation now. Is it correct?
Yes. So at the moment, the MDR starts, the date of application of the MDR, the MDD ends, and then there is no mutual recognition agreement covering that. That's basically the problem.
What is then the consequence? Is it kind of the Brexit that we are talking about now with Great Britain or not?
No, there are many differences. It's only the MDR that is affected. With Britain, it's everything that is affected. So if you look at importation of goods, I think that's a good example. If you look at importation of goods, you can do it on 3 levels. Logistic, so the physical importation; for customs, so who's paying any duties or tax or whatever; and the MDR, who's taking responsibility for the quality, safety, and performance of the devices and the traceability of that. Those are 3 different types of importation. In this case, the Swiss case, only the MDR will be affected. So goods can still move freely, but not medical devices without specific measures, so that there is compliance to the MDR.
So this is, and the reason mainly that this is impacting only the MDR and medical devices is the fact that there is this new regulation that is coming, which was not on the agreement. But if there was another regulation, another new regulation within the European Union, it will affect also this industry if it happens. Is it correct?
Yeah, yes. So that will be a problem that grows over time. So over the years, Switzerland will lose more and more of these MRAs with the EU. So it will become a bigger problem for the Swiss over time.
And so now, actually, the Switzerland is still selling devices. I mean, manufacturers in Switzerland are still selling devices to Europe. By date of application, what is happening to those manufacturers that are now in the Swiss market?
Well, if you are a manufacturer in Switzerland, from the MDR perspective, Switzerland becomes a third country.
Okay.
And that means that, and there are clear rules in the MDR for that. So you need an authorized representative, you need an importer based in the EU. Currently, they're not there, so you need to set that up. For non-European manufacturers relying on a Swiss authorized representative, they need to switch their authorized representative to someone who's based in the EU. For European manufacturers selling devices to Switzerland, the situation is very unclear. So far, the Swiss authorities have not communicated what they expect after their date. I have the feeling they are in a sort of state of denial there, but I'm not sure. I spoke a few months ago. I spoke with a representative of the Swiss government and asked him about it, and he said, "Well, the current MRA is already covering Chapter 4 of the MDR, so the rest will follow." That was his line of thinking, and I thought, well, Chapter 4, that's about notified body designation. It makes perfect sense to have notified body designation preempting the date of application of the MDR. So it is covered. It makes perfect sense to cover that in the current MDR MRA, because it is not yet applicable, right? So that makes sense to have it covered there, but it doesn't mean that all the other chapters will and annexes will also be added to the same MRA.
Okay.
That's not the case. I'm not sure if that has fully sunk in. I just don't know. I have asked questions and I don't get answers. That's that's a bit create some uncertainty. So I think it was Swiss MedTech who raised awareness about this a few days ago, and I think they're absolutely right. It's an unclear situation.
As you've said, Swissmedic just sent a notification or an information. We received that saying that the Swiss manufacturer should make it like it's in the worst case situation, means that there will be no agreement for MDR. So they have to already organize themselves, and as Eric Volberg says, to create a scenario for that regarding the Swiss manufacturers that cannot sell anymore the products in Europe without an authorized representative and without an importer. So as we said, so this is the worst case. Does it mean that Swiss authorities and European Commission is doing something now to try to not arrive to that, or we think really there is no, it's really a worst case, but it's most probably that something that will happen at date of application?
There are negotiations ongoing. So between the EU and the Swiss, they are talking at several levels, and also some informal levels, as I understand. So there's a lot happening. But I think it is a matter of who's going to blink first, the Swiss or the EU. Now, the EU has a problem. They have the UK, they're leaving, and the UK wants to negotiate a future deal. And basically, the EU doesn't want to have a deal with the UK that is better than the current EU deal. So it should not be better to be outside the EU than inside, right? So they have to negotiate very tough there. And that toughness is also applied to Turkey and Switzerland now.
Okay.
So there is very little room to maneuver for the European Commission to in the negotiations here. Either you're in or you're out. And for the Swiss, it means that, well, if they don't sign this treaty, they cannot sign the MRA, and they will be out, and that's a problem. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of discussion ongoing. Maybe we will see that the MDR is brought within the current MRA. So indeed, the scenario is not only having chapter 4 there for the notified bodies, but all the other chapters and annexes as well. Maybe they find a way to get this general treaty signed, but maybe someone pulls a rabbit out of a hat, and we find some other solution. But the most likely scenario, in my opinion, is that there will be from the MER perspective, Switzerland will become a third country. And then you need an authorized representative. As a Swiss manufacturer, you need an authorized representative. You need an importer, and that needs to be reflected in your labeling.
Yeah, so you need to have this EC rep logo with the name of the authorized representative, and the importer will have to place his label also on the products when you will receive the product. So this is something that will cost, I think, some money for all the manufacturers to first appoint an authorized representative, to find an importer if they don't have already, to make those deals, those agreements, everything, to update their labels, to change that, to issue the new products to be sold by date of application, etc., etc. So it's a lot of things that they have to do. What I wanted to ask is, let's take this scenario. So at date of application, there is still no MRA signed, no agreement signed with the European Union, but maybe, let's say, a few months later, the agreement is signed.
Yeah.
What is happening then for those manufacturers again?
Well, they have to change the labeling again. So from a worst case scenario, it gets even worse, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it is terrible. But first you need to switch to EAAR labeling, and then under the MDR, you cannot, as a European manufacturer, you cannot have an authorized representative or an importer, so you must take them off. So yeah, that's a problem. What I really hope is that we get some information of how close they are in reaching an agreement. So if they're optimistic it will soon happen, then you may go to a solution where you just add a sticker with the authorized representative name to your device. If it's somewhere on the label or near the label, that's fine. For the importer, the name and address of the importer must be, and I'm citing Article 13, it must be on the device, on the packaging, or on a document accompanying the device. Especially the last one is very interesting. Just add a document saying I am the importer, and that's easy to get rid of if it's no longer needed. There's a little issue there where you need to take into account. If you have a pallet full of with few hundred devices and one document accompanying the pallet, that's not what is in the legislation. Each device should have that document. Okay. So at the moment the device is put into service, someone must be able to identify the importer. That's basically the idea. So as long as you do that, you can do it. It's in compliance with the legislation. That's the easiest thing I can think of, and that's the easiest thing to remove if there is a quick fix of the situation. But I don't know. That's in the future, and there's particularly the future is difficult to predict.
Yeah, and just for the Swiss manufacturers, I think as you mentioned, they have to appoint this authorized representative. They have to appoint this importer. One thing that is possible also is that if they have already an office in European Union, for example in France or Belgium or another country, they can also appoint this office as their authorized representative, but they need to have still this PRRC, the person responsible for regulatory compliance, at this place to take care about the regulatory affairs. So the list starts to grow and grow and grow. Do you think it will be really a problem for them to do that, or this will be really a burden?
Well, we have several clients now, Swiss manufacturers, and each they are applying their own solutions. So we see many different solutions being used, and so there is a lot of freedom to make choices. It is correct what you say that the authorized representative must have their own person responsible for regulatory compliance, PRRC. If you make use of an organization that is working for multiple companies as the authorized representative, so they provide that as a service, there will be a PRC available. So it's easy to presume they are compliant. Emergo Europe is representing many manufacturers, and we get a lot of requests now. So that's we can help these manufacturers. And we're also providing them with what we call a delayed start. So we do everything, we prepare everything for this situation, but we do not apply it yet. At the moment it's necessary, we can roll it out in a very short time, and then so you have certainty if especially if we can expect that if this becomes reality, that many companies will suddenly need an AR, and then it will be very busy.
Okay. So
you need to have an AR. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one thing also is actually this is a situation for them. They have to take it as a worst case scenario, but I wanted to ask, is it also possible for them to raise their voice and to just start to say to the Swiss authorities or to the European Commission, let's stop this, as you said, what we said, with the one that will blink first game. So to say, hey guys, we have a business here, so please stop your political things and sign this agreement so that we can continue to do business. Is this also an option for them?
In a way, yes. What they could do is to make clear how big the problem is. Nobody knows for sure how many devices will be affected. So you have if you look at a hospital, current hospitals, modern hospitals, they are very complex care systems, and there's a lot of interdependent relations between devices. So if you do a dialysis, you have many dozens of devices working together, and only a few you can easily replace. For the rest, if you take out one, the whole system collapses. So if the Swiss have this problem, it may have an effect on all European citizens, because you see, we may have get to a situation where hospital care collapses, and some politicians are not aware that you just cannot replace one device with another. For example, if you talk about orthopedic implants, you have whole systems of orthopedic implants. It is just not possible to replace them in a few days' time. So there's a way to put some pressure on it, and that will also work the other way around for the Swiss authorities. At the moment, the MRA ends and the MDR comes into power. The Swiss authorities will be cut out of the market surveillance cooperation between member states, vigilance reporting between member states. They will not have access to all the data about devices that are being imported in the EU. So it will be very difficult for them to know what devices are coming into the market if these devices are compliant. They're taking a huge risk. As I said, customs and logistics are not affected. So these devices can still travel free. And if there is a CE mark on it, yeah, they can presume it is CE marked, it is safe, but actually the CE mark doesn't mean anything in Switzerland because it's not covered by the MDR.
Yeah.
So they're running a big risk, and I wouldn't like to be in their position to have to explain that counterfeit or very unreliable devices entered the market and damaged the health of patients. I wouldn't like to be in their position. So industry can do a lot. They have to educate politicians about the risks and get them into one room and speak and solve the problem. And that's what industry can do.
And maybe for people that are listening to us, just to understand also, Switzerland has also a lot of medical device manufacturers, same as pharmaceutical companies also. There is really a lot of manufacturers that are selling all over the world. And as you are mentioning, for example, when you are doing orthopedics, you are selling the instruments that goes with to the surgery for doing this operation. But you are also selling the implants. I compare it to a printer. You are selling the printer, but you have them to sell the cartridges. And if you cannot sell the implants anymore because they are not on the market, or you have to put more effort to do that, it can be, as you mentioned, affecting also the European Union. But as you mentioned, manufacturers can raise their voices, can educate the politicians to try to avoid this. So yeah, I think this is mainly the information that we can tell to them. Is there something else that Emergo is doing actually also to help or to support the manufacturers in Switzerland or maybe outside Switzerland?
Well, as you may have noticed, I have some contacts with the authorities in Switzerland and in the EU, and I try to communicate there. That's what I try to do, using my position as a sort of neutral consultant. Yeah. I'm using that also to create information about the situation. So I write blogs on that, and these are published on our website. You can get, if you go to the website, emergo.com, you can get a subscription to our newsletter, and you can even subscribe to RAMS, Regulatory Affairs Management Suite. For now, it's for free, but later it will become a paid service. But for now, you can try it out for free. And there you can find a lot of information that helps you to access global markets. And it will also be your source of information if anything develops regarding the Swiss situation. Yeah. So that's something. So we help industry, we educate industry, and that's what all we can do.
Exactly.
And of course, if you want to do a project, we can do that. If you want to understand the exact labeling requirements, set up your own office or have us do it, act as your authorized representative, we can do that. But it's of course. But there are other companies also doing that, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But as I said, the fact to find a partner that is educating, it's what I'm trying to do also with Easy Medical Device, to try to educate people. So it's a great deal here. Okay, so Ronald, I think we covered all what we wanted to say about the Swiss market. I hope this helped really the Swiss manufacturers to understand the situation, for them to know exactly what to do. And also for the authorities to start to think about the consequences if this happens. You can make some manufacturers not really happy. So I think this is really helping a lot. Anyway, I will put on the show notes the link to your article so that people can go also and read it. Also the link to the information that you just mentioned, so that people can go and check that. Okay, so Ronald, do you have something else for the audience?
Well, today is the 31st of January, Brexit Day. So I wish everybody a Merry Brexit.
Great, thank you for that. So we'll see how it happens for them. There will be this transition period until end of the year. I will try to have another episode about that and try to have somebody also explaining the Brexit to us. Okay, so Ronald, thank you for your help. Thank you for all the information provided, and I wish you a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.